Hello, Suzanne Bechtel here again with a second of a three-part series on the Chapter 2 Legal Administration and Technology text of Practical Law Office Management by Cynthia Train-Adonis. And this part is going to cover the functions of legal administration. And I explained in the previous lecture that there is a difference between practice management and legal administration. And I also pointed out that you will have a managing partner in a law firm that is more inclined or more involved in working with the administrative piece of the law firm, typically in partnership with the law office administrator, sometimes referred to as a law office manager. But most larger firms call them administrators, and that was discussed in the cast of characters at law firms in Chapter 1. So you might want to look back to what you learned there to refresh the building on of this point. We're going to cover briefly some of these objectives. The ones that are highlighted in yellow are the primary ones that are included in law office administration. Again, you just had a little short, brief topical lecture on the distinguishing between the two. But remember that law office administration and law office practice management are, generally speaking, two different things, with practice management being more centered around the client, the services to be provided, that I want to call it that partnership of lawyers piece where those decisions as to what services to give, to provide to the clients and how to attract them, etc., and keep them, whereas office administration functions a little bit differently, and we'll go through that now. So law office administration has the leadership component to it. The leadership is the act of motivating or causing others to perform and achieve objectives. Effective leaders inspire others. They set a clear mission, vision, and goals for an organization, and they give it direction and guidance. Controlling is the process of determining whether the law practice is achieving its objectives, holding stakeholders accountable for their goals, and making strategy adjustments as necessary so the firm achieves its objectives. Financial management is the oversight of a firm's financial assets and profitability to ensure overall financial health. And marketing is the process of educating consumers on the quality of legal services that a law office provides. Functions of management within an organization, part of administration is management. And notice that the first slide that I just showed you, the previous slide talked about leadership, and there is a difference between leadership and management. Management is the role that is played in human resources, and it's the role that's played in hiring and evaluating, etc. It's a role in compensation and benefits, training and development needs, such as new paralegal orientations. Those are managerial functions as opposed to those goal setting and motivating and process determining functions of a leadership piece. Next, we go on to functions of management and human resources. Human resources is a part of law office management that, of course, is extremely important. The Human Resources Department handles a lot of the personnel law issues. So we're going to go into a few of those, this list of the major sources of law in human resources management under the umbrella of personnel law. Employment at will states that an employer and employee freely enter into an employment relationship, and that either party has the right to sever the relationship at any time without reason. The Family and Medical Leave Act of 1993 applies to employers with 50 or more employees. It applies to employees with at least 1 year of service and 1,250 hours in the last year. And as you can see, that those those points I just made are applicability standards to have eligibility to use the Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA, Family and Medical Leave Act. An employee is entitled to 12 weeks of unpaid leave within a 12-month period for areas like the birth or adoption of a child, the care of a child, spouse, or parent with a serious health condition, and the employee's own health condition. It's like sick leave with the entitlement to return to the same position or one that is equivalent to the position they had prior to taking the FMLA leave. The Fair Labor Standards Act sets a minimum wage and maximum hours of work for employees. It also requires employers to pay overtime for time worked over 40 hours per week to non-exempt staff. Recall in Chapter 1, there was some lecture about the paralegal profession and the views of the National Labor Board in terms of the Fair Labor Standards Act that requires employers to pay paralegals for overtime, and that would be for work over 40 hours per week. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination against employees on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, also the EEOC, was established to enforce the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Age Discrimination in Employment Act of 1967. This prohibits employers from discriminating against persons age 40 or older on the basis of their age, unless a bona fide occupational qualification exists. Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 prohibits employers from discriminating against persons with disabilities in several different areas. The ADA required that employers reasonably accommodate persons with disabilities. The Equal Pay Act of 1993 prohibits employers from basing arbitrary wage differences on gender. Prohibited harassment, that is unwelcome sexual advances, requests for favors, and other verbal or physical contact of sexual nature that creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. One of the things common to a law office is a person who is the person responsible for handling areas like the Civil Rights Act, handling claims like American with Disability Act of 1990, the age discrimination and prohibited harassment. If you are ever in a situation where any of these listed on here, particularly areas like the FMLA, the Fair Labor Standards Act, Civil Rights Act, age discrimination, etc., from that list down, that's an area to go to human resources about. If there isn't a human resources office at your firm, say it's small, then that would be something you would need to go to perhaps the office manager, the office administrator, or as I pointed out in the previous lecture, there's typically a managing partner. If there are several people partnered to do to run a practice as attorneys, there's usually one of them designated as you're going to be the head person and responsible for areas of law office administration. But most law firms have most law firms of medium size or greater have a law office administrator. And that would be the appropriate person to go to if there are problems you need to discuss or questions to ask. Next, another function of management is planning. Planning is a process of setting objectives, assessing the future, and developing courses of action to achieve these objectives. A mission statement is a general, enduring statement of the purpose or intent of the law practice, And strategic planning includes determining the major goals of a firm and then adopting the courses of action necessary to achieve those goals. Other functions of the law office management piece are organization, policies, and systems. Organizing is the process of arranging people and physical resources to carry out plans and accomplish objectives. A policy is a specific statement that sets out what is or is not acceptable. A procedure is a series of steps that must be followed to accomplish a task. A system is a consistent or organized way of doing something. And it's also important to recognize that law office staff manuals set out the policies and procedures of the law office. There's a partial law office staff manual in the table of contents. If you look for Exhibit 2.1 or 2-18 in the table of contents to the textbook, or in Chapter 2 basically, you'll see an example of a portion of a staff manual. And a staff manual has important policies and procedures that help to control the firm and control the quality of legal work going out of the firm. Let's see. Facilities management. And this is, kind of a surprise to people who think they're interested in law office management. There is a huge piece of the position as a law office manager or administrator that involves the facilities. And what is it? Facilities management encompasses planning, designing, controlling, managing, all that of the law office's building or office space, and includes a variety of subject areas like property acquisition, where acquiring space where the office will be housed, including purchasing a building or property or leasing office space. There are reasons to move or construct or remodel the space. Facilities management includes moving from one location to another, constructing a whole new office from scratch, or constructing, remodeling existing office space to meet new needs for new demands of the firm. Parking. Adequate parking needs to be available for both employees and clients, and this should be taken into considering when choosing office space. That's a part of facilities management. Cleaning, maintenance, and grounds. This facilities management piece includes being responsible for having the facility cleaned, typically through a cleaning service. Maintenance and upkeep when things break or need to be replaced or repaired. And being responsible for the grounds of the office, including the lawn care, snow removal, not in Florida, among other things. I guess picking up, since I'm writing this as Hurricane Dorian sweeps by Florida, the other things are things like hurricanes and the destruction they leave behind. There are also common areas. Common areas are, let's say you're in an office space where you're responsible for, you have a kitchen, a waiting room, conference rooms, bathrooms, storage rooms, etc. That would be a part of the office facilities management piece. Other pieces of the functions of management related to facilities management are environmental considerations like lighting, electrical, climate, and plumbing in the law office. And a big one is security and workplace violence management. Law office security is a major concern for all law offices. There are a list of things in the textbook at Exhibit 2-19. It's a list that shows what a law office can do to strengthen its security. This is obviously an important concern for any business, and it is particularly difficult for law offices because most firms deal with the general public, and you just never know who you will get walking through the door. Safety issues include ensuring the building has a sprinkler system, fire alarms, emergency power and lighting, fire escapes, and other features that enhance safety. And disaster recovery planning. A disaster recovery plan includes information on how the office will be rebuilt and recover from a total disaster, such as a hurricane. And that's an important area in Florida that office managers and law firms in general just have to have some clarity on. There's so much data on the internet and otherwise regarding disaster plans. There's a big ethical dilemma for law offices. For example, a total disaster could be immense. And especially when we've watched TV and seen the terrible things that happened in Florida and everywhere else, but as a result of really bad weather and water and wind, there's a serious question as to whether any firm can truly recover if a total disaster even occurs. Functions of management also include office services. These refer to the internal systems and services in a law office: a mailroom, copy machines, files and records management. Telecommunications include telephone equipment, voicemail, fax machines, video conferencing. So in a law office, a lot is being managed by administration. On the law office administration side, as you can see from what we just talked about, a lot of those things that are on the list that we've covered so far will require special expertise, be found. Of course, working with professionals in the telecommunications industry, even vendors and professionals that handle copy machines and mailroom equipment, file records, management systems are part of a law office, maybe possibly very likely electronic law office and those sorts of things. But we're going to go into technology next in the third of this three-part series, looking at what is the technology picture. And some of this you can see falls into technology, but not necessarily what at the lens that the author uses in this book until we come up to the next part of the lecture. Again, this is part 2 of 3 of Practical Law Office Management, written by Cynthia Traina-Donis, 2015 copyright date, published by Cengage. And finally, thank you for your time. Please listen to the third part.